Welcome everyone to the first episode of 2024 with I Got Gameplay. This is kind of my office, so to speak. It's quite weird being here with you guys today because this is the first time I've kind of gotten some quiet and I've been able to record I Got Gameplay the way that I've wanted to record it. It's quite weird because as a human being, life has been a bit weird. It's been hard, per se. So I thought we'd go into that a little bit and talk about what happened to me since I Got Gameplay ended. I believe we ended the show in 2015. That's when I left as host. And I passed it on to someone who didn't really do the brand justice. Let's be real. So I decided to, he decided to cancel it. I then went through the process of copywriting the show in order to bring it back because I wanted to bring the show back and give us I Got Gameplay because it was something that a lot of people kept asking me about. And there's a lot of stuff that we can talk about in the gaming industry, in terms of the gaming industry, because things have literally changed, but not just in the industry itself, things are changing in my life, you know. So I thought we'd do the first episode to find out where have you been. So this is where I've been. In 2015 onwards, I became homeless. I didn't become homeless, I was homeless. The UK system is not very good when it comes to anybody, male or female. You have to have some sort of special circumstances in terms of being able to be looked after. I did everything I could to kind of keep myself going. I opened up a GoFundMe to kind of help me with my situation. That didn't work out very well because people called me a scrounger, so I just stopped and didn't do it, didn't continue with it. Then I kind of went into a deep pit. I lost a lot. There was someone who I was with who decided that I was no longer worth being with. There was a personal situation with family which has been going on till this day, where my kids were basically abused by their mother and her boyfriend at the time, who's, from what I'm told, is still her boyfriend because the woman doesn't learn anything. I was taken to court. I had them taken away from me after having them for 2 years because I was told that I didn't have a permanent residence, hence the reason why the social workers decided to turn on me. I went into a deep depression as well, being the fact that I could not deal with all the shit that was being thrown my way. Internet-wise, people are very, very cruel on the internet, and we all are. I've been cruel too. You know, it's not the best thing in the world. We've all been cruel individuals, but I think one of my abilities as a human is to be able to understand and reflect on my behavior and change. But a lot of people don't see it that way and will consider me to be an evil person because of who I am or the things that I try to do. I lost a lot of friendships. I stopped being friends with Rob Man and Johnny Millennium, who was a Happy Console gamer, and a lot of the reason was due to another guy, a complete waste of human flesh known as Jeremy McDougal, who thought it would be fun to tell people that I was a pedophile and that I sexually assaulted my own children. I dealt with that. I had to deal with, and again, this is unfounded, never happened. And, my kids mean the world to me. I would never do anything to harm them, but this is another thing that happened. I also got found that I needed to resolve my inner issues, my inner turmoil that was going on between myself and wondering if I was a good human being or not. And the problem being a good human being to people, the way you treat others, or in the time you invest and the love you invest in people, they don't invest that love back. There have been a lot of people who would take, and if they were done taking, they would abandon you. I had that in my life. There was a bunch of friends of mine that happened. People would come, people would go. And I started to realize very quickly that the only person I could trust was myself. You know, I had friends who I was long-term friends with, I decided to cut ties with because they hated Muslims and were being racist and all. And with the shit that's going on right now, like the stuff that's going on in Israel and Gaza, being part Palestinian, I can tell you that this stuff has been going on for years. And yeah, what Israel's doing is an excuse. Like, it's a complete excuse. They're committing genocide right now, and it is what it is. Because there's nothing we can do about it. Like, the more people bring awareness to it, great, but is it going to change anybody's minds? No. So we dealt with all that. I had to go in and also seek counselling because I was at the process where I probably was going to end up ending my life and cutting things short because I was depressed. I didn't know what I wanted to do with myself, or everything that I tried, including acting, went tits up. Like, I would get so far in my acting forays that I would have people trying to stop me because I was very driven. I would find my own work. I would work with different people, have people approach me to work on some big budget movies, and I did that. And then again, the kind of, my legs were cut from under me because of an issue that I had with an agent who was trying to scam me and everybody else in her books. So I just did what I usually did, continued acting, continued working. If you've seen like any movie from 2016 all the way to kind of 2022 was the last movie I did. It just got to the point where I wasn't emotionally or physically able to do anything. I was going through so much turmoil and things were changing so rapidly, and it got to the point where I was like, is it you? Are you the problem? And to be honest, I spent my entire life thinking that I was the problem because it was just victim mentality, people being abusive, and then me sitting there going, it's my fault. My fault that he or she is gone. It's my fault that this person decided to drop me. That someone that I cared about decided that I was the problem. And I kept pushing and forcing and attempting to cultivate relationships with people who did not give a shit about me. So eventually, I saw someone. I took it upon myself to go to the NHS, and I filed with my doctor, like, an attempt to see a psychiatrist. Now, with the NHS in the UK, yes, it's free, but you only get like 3 days because we have a government who are completely fucking stupid, who don't understand you need more than 3 days to kind of unpack and heal. So I saw the first psychiatrist I saw said to me that I was a buzzkill, that I made her feel anxious because I was unpacking. So I complained and they got a proper one because this woman wasn't actually a proper psychologist. And we unpacked. A few things I found out. I'm neurodivergent, so I have ADHD and dyslexia. But my type of dyslexia is very weird. It's not that I see words and numbers backwards like the typical type of dyslexia. It means that things need to be simplified for me in order to understand them. So it doesn't mean I'm not intelligent, it just means that there's certain things that I don't get. I decided to not retire from acting, but to put it on pause. because I started to realize that I didn't have a home. I couldn't spend my money on anything apart from my kids or paying off my debts in my bank account. So I had to quickly come to terms with what I needed to do to make things better for myself. So I kept wondering where I would go next, and I got an offer to go to China to basically teach in China. So from 2019, I decided to get up, go, and head to China. So that's what I did. I went to China and became a teacher. Like, I started at training centers, which was great. Like, working at a training center was fun because you got to use all the tools that you used as an actor to work with kids. Like, it's amazing. I needed a DBS check. I had to have a degree, which is what I had. I had a bachelor's, or I have. You can't really take away that degree. I have a bachelor's in drama and theatre that I acquired from St Mary's University in Twickenham. But I also decided that I wanted to do more than just do this, because working for a training centre is like the McDonald's of teaching. And it literally is. You're working at a place and you're emulating teaching, because you're not actually teaching, you're just entertaining a bunch of kids and training them to say words and phrases. So we were doing that and making my boss a lot of money. And I started in a place called Nanton. Nanton was great because it was the first time that I had my own apartment. It was free. Technically wasn't free because, you know, they were paying for the apartment, but it would have gone into my salary if they weren't paying for it. I believe they were paying like 5,000 RMB, which is like £500 a month. I had a heater in my room, which was like an AC heater, like the Americans have. I had a bed, and I adopted a kitty cat. Her name was Daisy, and I ended up finding a dog who's known as Luigi. She is my lovely little pup. She's still with me. She's about 4 years old now. So I basically went into that situation, and I lasted about a year. And then things started happening again. I met a group of people I was working with. We were hanging out, we were friends. And eventually things started going south. And this time I could see the signs and the red flags because I unpacked everything with the psychologist that I had. People were like saying stuff about me, and it was stuff that wasn't true. They outed me to someone who I wasn't very comfortable being outed to that person, because it wasn't it was my choice to say, but they told him, which wasn't the nicest thing. But it also made me come to realize as well that the friend group that I had were very similar to what happens in China. You have two types of foreigners in China, and I did a short video on this recently. The first type are the, hey, you know, you're like me, let's get drinks, we're friends kind of thing. Normal relationship stuff. But there are those who are basically gatekeeping. They don't want you to be in their position. They're afraid they're going to lose their jobs, and they will do everything they can to make your life a living hell. I recognized this, and so what I did was I put into the work that I had when working with the psychologist, which was literally just sit down, unpack, let's communicate. So I did. I communicated with both parties, let them know how it made me feel. They said they would stop, and it didn't stop. So my contract came up, and I decided, okay, it's time for me to leave. So I got up and I transferred over to Shanghai. I found a job in Shanghai. It was double the salary that I was on, working as head of English for a training center. So I was like, hey, this is not bad. So I went there, and then I decided to upgrade my skills. So I got my TEFL and mindfulness certificates, which I studied online, and became the head of English at this place. I was writing lesson plans, developing syllabus, adapting the materials that they had from a training centre company in order to get the students to understand and learn. It was more of a teaching based role, which I was enjoying a lot. It was a 2-year contract that got cut short because the laws in China changed. So I had to pivot the game because the laws changed due to the fact that the government were changing everything. They, due to COVID-19, we had a situation where certain individuals, and this is a constant here in China, and it's constant anywhere, to be honest, in terms of politics. Traditionalists felt that they wanted to convert everything to public schools, get rid of training centres, and adapt everything to like one way of education, which was the Chinese way. So I wasn't allowed to work at the training centre that I was working at. I was very happy there. So I had to find another job. So I found a job in Hangzhou working as an international teacher. A friend of mine actually got me the position. So I went there working at an international school, but one of the caveats was I had to get my postgraduate certificate in education. There's 2 qualifications you can get in the UK. One is a PGCE, which is a postgrad. The other one is a QTS. Usually you're supposed to have both, a PGCE with a QTS component, which means that you can get a thing called a teacher reference number and become a full qualified teacher in the UK. I only got the PGCE component, and I didn't know this until after, but so I started that and started working with this company. And then I had a head of department who decided, hey, I want to leave. So she quit on the first day that I was there. And I was just like, okay. And she just went, well, we need to quit together, you know, unity and solidarity. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that. That's, you know, I'm quite happy just doing my job and going home. Things started to get worse. She was creating conflict whenever she could. Like, she was not happy within herself, and she wanted to kill any hope of me progressing within the school. Plus, a lot of the education team were very anti-LGBTQ. So they didn't like the fact that I was pansexual. They didn't like that. They didn't like me being who I was, so they were doing everything they could to kind of eliminate me, or eliminate my position. We ended up in a situation where I was there for 7 months because I had to take a month off. Basically, the way that the contract law works here is if you're signed to a 1-year deal, you have 1 month probation. So for every 1 month, you have, for every year, you have a month probation. So I had a 3-year deal, but my probation is 6 months. That's the caveat here. So if you have a 3 years or more, they can have you're allowed to have a maximum 6 months probation. But the thing about the probation is they don't have to tell you that you've met the requirement for the probation. You have to basically go from the probation. If you go over 6 months and no one's told you anything, you've passed the probation. That's how it works. So I was there for 7 months due to the fact I had to take 1 month away from work to get back surgery, emergency back surgery, due to a sliver of bone hitting my sciatic nerve in my leg and causing immense pain. And this was from the time when I was younger and I was working as a professional wrestler. So I ended up in a situation where we're at a stalemate. So they decided they could give me a reference, because one of the things you need while working in China as an expat is you need references. You have to work for your position, you have to have your reference, you have to have transition your visa and everything over to the next company, because your visa is tied to that company. And it's, you know, in Japan, anywhere else in the world, it's the same thing. Even in the UK, I believe, your visa is tied to the company that you work at. And if you no longer work for that company, you will no longer have a visa. It's literally that. So we made some addendums to the contract. One was a non-disparagement clause. They're not allowed to disparage me, I'm not allowed to disparage them. We just left it at that. They would give me a reference, and I would get paid my, basically for breaking my contract, they would have to pay me 3 months. I negotiated it down to 1 month. And the reason why was I wanted to get out of the situation. I didn't want to be in the position that I was in, and I didn't want to force arbitration because it means I would have to sit there in Hangzhou where I was in order to continue this. And there was a lot of other stuff that went on too. Like, I had a situation where someone was very inappropriate towards me, which was a guy who was unblocking my drain. Slowly, I got the courage, got him out, threw him out the apartment, told the community head, and they said, no one does that here. Like, okay. So I let that go. Moved on to my next position, which is where I currently am. I'm working at school in Pinghu, Zhejiang province here in China, in it's Jiaxing, technically it's Jiaxing. I'm in Jiaxing, Zhejiang, but the city I'm in is called Pinghu. I like it here. Like, it reminds me a lot of Blackpool in terms of like the waterfront, the way that the place is positioned. It's very pretty, but at the same time, I'm working towards newer goals. Like, the one thing that I managed to do whenever I got a new position was get a salary bump. A salary bump is really easy to do. You go in, you show them your experience, you show them your qualifications. And one of the big things here in China is they want you to, as a teacher, just keep, working and working towards your goals and qualifications so that you get where you need to be. And it's a good thing. So I did that, and I started with my TEFL, of course, when I was working at a training centre. Continued with the PGCE, which I completed last year in March, I believe. I got my postgraduate certificate in education. And then I got to work on my next goal, because I have a 5-year plan, which is my master's. I'm doing currently master's in educational leadership and a master's in international education. One's going well, one isn't. Like, the master's in educational leadership is doing really well. The master's in international education is not, because the school that I'm partnering with are not that great. I'm going to be real with you. They are. There is a kind of a bias from the team that are working on my course, and they are being completely and utterly unreasonable in terms of my grading, which has probably put me on a path to failing this module, but we'll see. And I used my other course as a comparison and said, well, I'm getting great marks here, but I'm not getting great marks here. How is that working? And we're still trying to figure that out. So, yeah, that's literally been me. In 2023, near the end of 2023, I filed for the copyright for I Got Gameplay, or the trademark, should I say, the trademark for I Got Gameplay, and it was granted. So what does that mean for the show? It means we're back, but it's going to be sporadic for now. If you want to see it more on a regular basis, you'll need to donate to the Patreon. I do have a Patreon. Just £1 a month or $1 a month will be great, because that will help me towards establishing a base so that I can do more episodes. Because right now my priority is my teaching, and my priority is establishing myself. Because one of the things I do like about China is the fact that it is the home of hustle culture. People talk about America like it's the American dream and anyone can do everything, right? Where in my opinion, China is literally that. You can come here with nothing, which is what I did. I came here with a shirt, like barely the clothes on my back, and I made something of myself. And I'm continuing to make something of myself. The show will have a rotation of hosts, meaning that people will come on as guests, they will work on the podcast with me, and they will go as they please. I will be working on ways to have the show funded by you, of course, and I know when we say these words, it makes people very mad because they act like we're entitled idiots who want money from people and give next to nothing. That's not the way I want to do things. I will be releasing t-shirts, as again, the Patreon is open, so you can donate to that too. Patreon.com/Enigma Entertainment. Go and donate $1 a month will help us as much as we can. Eventually, I want to, if I can, work towards a goal of opening a studio, putting my funds into it, but also using the money that we can accumulate for the show to help put together a studio where we can do regular in-person filming. We can have proper special guests. We can talk about game industry stuff so that we can, because again, things have changed with the incorporation of AI and other things. Things have changed in our industry. So I want to do all these things, and that's the plan for now. On top of putting together short videos and long form content for nerdgenius.com as well. And just, doing the best I can, and that's all we can do. It's quite sobering to be back doing this again, and it's quite humbling to know that the show has been missed. Because I miss you guys. I missed the fact that we were doing really well. We were doing 1,000 listens per episode when I was releasing this on a weekly basis. So let's see how this does. I'm not expecting amazing, listenership yet. I'm not expecting everyone all the listeners that have kind of dovetailed to do their own thing. I'm not expecting you guys to come back. But I did feel like I needed to explain what happened, why it happened, and how we'll be moving forward. This won't be one of those projects where I end up cutting bait and running after 2 or 3 episodes. I want to do this to avoid burnout, to avoid ongoing issues, to avoid me getting to the point where I just don't want to be working on this. But I also have another life that I've got to focus on as well. I've got an apartment I have to pay rent for, which, to be fair, the rent is really cheap. I'm paying 160 quid a month on my current apartment. It's a 2-bed. I've got children back home who I am giving, who I'm investing in. I've got a situation that I'm trying to right a wrong with that too. So all these things occupy my time. And I also want to bring back as much as I can for Nerd Genius and all that other stuff as well, and try and figure out what that channel is going to be. Because right now it's just shorts and long form content. So we'll see. But as far as I got gameplay, consistently you will have episode 2, because we're starting again. We're starting from number 1. This is number 1. So you'll have episode 2 come in March, episode 3 in April, and then we can look at, say, mid-June, see how things are going, and then maybe look at changing and dovetailing again. So we may add 2 episodes a month, 3 episodes a month, depending if I can keep up. If not, we keep it the way it is. But right now it will be on video podcast form, nerdgenius.com, and anywhere else where podcasts are listed. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So that's everything. I hope I explained everything to you. If not, make sure if you're on the video form, If you're on nerdgenius.com, my Nerdgenius YouTube channel, leave a comment below. If you're on the podcast page, leave a comment. I will try to answer as many of your questions as possible. But that's literally it from me for episode 1. And as always, you know my name is Michael Burham, and I've got gameplay. Have you?